she's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are...
the Book Besties.
Freezing! Because you do that all the time.
Right, welcome home from space.
Shh! Secret locations.
Effervescent Thought Bubbles by Molly.
We don't trust you fuckers. Like, zero.
How's that working out for you?
Email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com.
What's wrong with you?
So much. I'm getting used to the weather. I haven't lived in the north. In the cold seasons since I was in my early 20s.
I tend to not wear coats, even though I do have one, because I like to assert my dominance over the Southerners as a proud Midwesterner who grew up in the snow.
Texas too long.
Yeah.
Like, I can handle Texas winter fine. I'm not cold.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland and I are going to have to learn to get along.
Yeah. I think
Maryland and I are going to have to learn to get along.
I think because I moved to Virginia after 4 years in Ohio again. So, like, you know, because I had lived in Texas for 4 years and in Florida.
So, like, Virginia's warmer.
Yeah. I mean, we just don't have a lot of snow in Virginia, although we are supposed to have a bad winter. So, I don't know.
Awesome. Can't wait. Sweet. So the girls have a school dance coming up. Aww, they're doing like a haunted trail, and they're doing it outside on the tennis courts at the high school.
So the haunted trail. How's that?
I have no idea, but it's like just a bunch of middle school kids, possibly in costumes. But I told the girls that they could like invite friends over after, like, because it runs till 8. So it was like, have a friend sleep over, and like we'll do a movie after, and then they can go home the next morning later. And so Liv's already picked a friend because Livy can find a friend anywhere.
I mean, and that's good that they've made friends already because they're still new and haven't been in public school in a few years. So
yeah. So Livy's already made a friend, and she and Grace have been talking for a while now, I guess. Like, they've been texting, and they last weekend or the weekend before last, they FaceTimed for a whole day. Like 8 hours total, like a full day. And so this week she goes, hey, I gave Grace your number so she could give her your number to her mom so her mom could text you because her mom wants to meet you before she comes over to spend the night. And I go, valid point, kid.
That's
valid
fair.
point.
That's fair, yeah.
So I get this text the other day, and it's a very long text. Come to find out, Grace's mom, like my husband, is a pre-texter, so she will pre-write the texts like Matthew does, and like... Anyway, so she was nervous to text me. Come to find out, they're a Coastie family. Her husband is active. Her husband is active duty.
Oh, that's so
She's
crazy.
Retired. She's a former enlisted. He went officer to enlisted. But she's stationed at headquarters. So... they are my age, so they've probably crossed my paths, or we have same friends in the same circles.
Oh, yeah, because the Coast Guard is so small.
So small. So my daughter and her daughter found the only other 2 Coastie kids in that entire middle school, and it is true. The Coasties will find each other. I don't know how we do it, but every time. Like, every time.
Yep.
Anyways, how was your week?
It was fine. Busy, but good. I went to the bookstore yesterday because I don't want to give too much away for our episode when we cover this book. But everyone on social media is like obsessed with ACOTAR, right? A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Oh my god, obsessed.
And we've never read it
We've been avoiding it like the plague because we don't trust book talk.
Yeah, we've had some issues where we've, done the book talk suggestions, and we've been like, no.
We don't trust you fuckers. Like, zero.
Molly, you gotta stop calling potential fans fuckers. Like,
we love you guys. And I call everybody fuckers. I call you a fucker, and you're one of my favorite people. So
okay, well,
valid points.
So I don't want to give too much away, but I finished it and made
I'm almost
Tom
done with
take
it
me
too.
to the bookstore yesterday so I could buy the rest of the series. And
I'm not gonna lie. I have 2 hours left in that series. I have blown through that first book, and I am 100% finishing that series on our break.
Yeah.
100%.
So what I normally do is I read a book while I'm listening to a book so that I can keep up with our pod. But I've just decided that I'm going to try really hard to keep up with the pod while also listening to ACOTAR because I can't stop. Like it's addictive.
Just so good.
So I have to tell you what happened at the bookstore yesterday. So first of all, the whole family went to the bookstore because this is what we do, right? So I immediately
go. A family that reads together, is smart together. Yeah. Smart.
So I go to the fantasy section, and I pull the next 4 books in the series. Right now, there's 5 books in the series.
Jesus.
And I put them in my cart, and then I go, "Are you guys going to get books?" And the boys are like, "Nah, we don't want a book this week," which, what the fuck?
Weird.
And then Tom was like, "Nah, I don't really want anything." And I was like, "Okay, so since no one else is getting anything, can I get more books?" And Tom's like, "Well, you kind of have $100 worth of books there." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. But nobody else wants books, so can I get more books?" He's like, "I actually never said no, so if you want to get more books, you can." So I ended up buying the first book that we'll read in season 4, which is a fan suggestion.
We're starting off strong this year, y'all.
Yeah, January, we're coming out hard. So Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. By Gabrielle Zevin.
I'm real excited about this book. That's been on my TBR.
So I bought that one. I go up to the register, and I'm checking out, and the woman who's helping me, I said, she's like, "Oh, I haven't actually read the ACOTAR series yet." And I was like, "Me either." So I run a podcast, and we're covering the first book for the podcast, and I really wasn't sure if I would like it because, like, fairy porn, I don't know, is that really my thing?
Yeah.
So, I typically do not like historical romance or historical fantasy, and ACOTAR is kind of like, I mean, it's paranormal romance, but it's also historical fantasy romance.
It's pushing into my genre.
Yeah, so
you're not a fan of my genres,
right? So I was really surprised I like it. So I was telling her all this, and as I'm telling her this, she's already pulled out a stack of Post-it notes and a pen, and she's like, "What's your podcast?" And I was like, "It's called Book Besties." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I love that name." And I was like, "Yeah, so it's my best friend and I, and we live in different states, and this is kind of like our way of staying close." And over the last year, because we've been doing this for a little over a year now, almost a year and a half, this has actually been a very bonding thing for us. We're a lot closer now than 100%. We really. Yeah, and I mean, we've been friends for a long time. We've been best friends for a long time, but this has even grown us more. And so she was like, "I love this concept. I love podcasts. I'm 100% going to listen to you guys." And then she wanted to know which preferred streaming platform so that she could make sure we helped our rating on that platform. And I was like, "I know." So I was like, "Well, we have a website and we're on all the social medias and everything, but Apple is the one that we're the most rated on." So she's like, "Great. That's usually where I listen to my podcast anyway. I'll go ahead and rate you guys." And
young fan, welcome new fan.
I know. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." And then when we went to dinner, I was still processing it.
You should have got her name.
Well, I was still processing it when we went to dinner after, and I was like, "You know what's weird, Tom?" And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "I didn't tell her I run this podcast, Book Besties, and then she wrote down the name. I just offhandedly was like, I run this podcast. I really love these books." I was talking about the books, and then she was like, "What's the podcast?" She already wanted to know. So that was really cool for me. And then I thought it would be really funny if the bookstore had a Book Besties Book Besties display. And Tom was like, "It should just be a podcast display, but low key, it's all Book Besties stuff."
I had something similar happen a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was in the romance section, and I was looking for something for the new season.
Yeah.
Just something we haven't read, something that I figured that would be me, but also you would love because I'm struggling to find things we both love. And
that's only because you keep picking historical fiction.
I know. So, like, I'm telling this, like, I have my arms full of books because I can't control myself in the bookstore, and Matthew didn't go with me.
They have baskets.
Yeah, I know, but that's beside the point. I'm trying to set myself with a limit so I don't get the basket. And
how's that working out for you?
It's not great, by the way. It's not great, by the way. So, I'm sitting there with my arm full of books, and Piper has her arm full of books, and this chick's like, "Can I help you find something?" And I go, I'm looking for a romance book, and I explained to her what's been going on, and I go, I have this podcast with my bestie, and like I've been failing her, and I go on, and she does the same thing. She goes, "What's the podcast?"
Yeah.
And I told her, and she pulls out her phone, she opens Spotify.
Yeah.
I fucking love when people do that now.
Yeah.
People do that now, and they instantly hit follow. And I'm like,
know. And it feels so good.
We appreciate you guys. We appreciate meeting you guys in the wild. Like,
we totally do. She actually asked when our new episodes come out and how frequently we do, and she wanted to know, like,
she probably listen.
Yeah, she wanted to know, like, how do we release? How do we find out what you guys are listening or watching or reading or whatever?
I will do a quick shout out to that girl because she gave me, where is it? Fuck, I lost it. No, I didn't. There it is. So the book she picked, it's a series, and it's called The Fine Print.
Oh, okay. I saw that one on your list.
And I want to shout out to her because she said the way she described this is so good. And I hope it is as good as she said.
Well, I also, on a related note, also almost bought a book that I already own yesterday.
I mean, wait. Was it a collectible? Because you do that all the time.
No. It was a book we're reading for next season. The Department of Rare Books and Special collections? And it's one that I had picked for next season. And I had already owned it. And, like, I was, like, pulled it off the shelf. And then it occurred to me that I made it an Instagram reel, a TikTok video, whatever, with it.
Holding this actual book.
So I was like, oh, wait, I already own this. And the woman that was helping me at the time was like, oh, I've been there. And I was like,
guilty.
Book people.
So let's talk about this week's book, huh?
Let's talk about this week's book.
So this week is the Mary Shelley Club by Goldy Moldavsky. Oh,
and this is a library copy. This is a library copy. Goodness. Support local libraries. Don't just buy books. Support local libraries.
Damn,
I'm not a fan of the color. I'm not a fan of the cover.
You're not a fan of the cover. It doesn't really match the story at all.
It doesn't match the story.
It doesn't match the story at all. So I do have a synopsis I wrote, but I want to read what the author pre-wrote on Tumblr because I loved her breakdown so much, and then I'll give you my breakdown.
Okay, but we'll link that below because this is
her
proprietary
website,
information.
This is her proprietary information. This is from her website directly. And I'm going to link her Tumblr in general because there's a lot of stuff on there. She has like little flashcards for each of the characters. It's a whole thing. We'll get into it.
Okay.
The Mary Shelley Club, aka The Last Girl in the UK, that's what the UK book is titled. When it comes to horror movies, the rules are clear. Avoid abandoned buildings, warehouses, and cabins at all times. Stay together. Don't split up. Not even just to check something out. If there's a murderer on the loose, do not make out with anyone.
Good call.
If only surviving in real life was this easy. New girl Rachel Chavez turns to horror movies for comfort, preferably stabby, serial killer, and homicidal dolls to the bored rich kids and homicidal dolls. To the bored rich kids of mandatory prep and certain memories she can't prepare to bury. Why did that blend? That's weird. Then Rachel is recruited by the Mary Shelley Club, a mysterious society of students who orchestrated fear tests, elaborate pranks inspired by urban legends and movie tropes. At first, Rachel embraces the power that comes with reckless pranks, but as the fear test escalates, the competition turns deadly, and it's clear Rachel is playing a game she can't afford to lose. I'm going to add a question real quick before I read my synopsis because I just had a thought. Oh my God, this book. Woo.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this book.
Well, I'm pretty far ahead in our reading, and so I actually read this book like, I don't know, like a month ago, so I'm just hoping I can remember everything. Oh, man. But yeah, this book was a little...
This book, okay. So, yeah. Molly synopsis.
Okay.
Something terrible happened to Rachel Chavez last year. Her mother thought after this terrible thing, a change of venue was in order. So now Rachel must attend a rich kids' school in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. After a party she attends turns weird, she figures out that there is something going on at Manchester Prep. That something is the Mary Shelley Club. But this club may not be the second chance she was hoping for.
Yeah.
Mine's a little bit quicker.
Oh, man.
Mine's a little bit quicker. Okay, sorry. First question. Well, this is normally not... This is one... Words. Well, this is one of our normal genres. Mary Shelley Club isn't really our scene. This homage to horror films and teen slashers really hooked me. What did you think of this book overall?
It's not one of my normal genres. I don't read like spooky books and horror and things like that.
Well, I meant YA because it's technically a YA book.
It is YA, and I do like YA, but this is not a book I would have ever read had you not made me. But but I didn't hate it. I actually really enjoyed the book. So, I mean, yeah, I enjoyed the book. I thought it was really different. I thought it was unique in some ways. There were some things that were pretty cliche and like, I mean, it's kind of hard to write about horror movies and not be cliche because there's so many tropes and cliches.
There's so many tropes and cliches when it comes to this stuff.
I feel like there is one huge plot hole in this book that I can't reveal right now because it has to do with the ending.
Right.
But there's one huge plot hole that really bugged me about this book. But overall, I liked it.
Okay. I normally don't do a ton of horror. Like, I do thrillers and I don't do the blood gush. I do scary movies only in the October. Like, this is not my normal jam.
I don't know that I would really call this horror. I mean, the library where I checked it out from called it thrillers and mystery. And I think that's more what it is. Like, to me, horror is like people be murdering and murdering and murdering.
I really enjoyed this. Like, this book had me from the beginning to end. I was enthralled. I'm not going to lie.
It'll hook you. And I listened to the audiobook and I thought the narrator did a fantastic job with the
fantastic job. And I will include the Audible link, #not sponsored, of who the Audible narrator is because it's very good.
It's for sure.
Very good. Spectacular. Goldy Moldavsky is also new to us in our pod. What did you think of her writing style?
I like it. Because I'm thinking that tends to be her genre is more mystery thriller. I probably won't read her again unless you put her back on the pod. But I don't think she's a bad writer. I think she was really good at like, especially when you're writing these kind of like thriller things, you really have to write to the senses, which I think we've talked about that before, like romance.
Writing with the five senses.
And romance is the same way, right? You have to like
not using smell in romance.
Smells. I freaking hate that. But she did a good job writing to the senses. Like I felt the panic. I mean, it never really scared me. This book never scared me, but like I felt the panic that Rachel was feeling. Like there was a good and part of that is the audiobook narrator just having a really good
tension.
Yeah. So I thought the writing was really good. I checked out the book because one of the things that I really thought was interesting was the book is completely first person, except when you get to the people who are the target.
The horror stories.
And then it switches to third person from their perspective, but not first person, third person omniscient. So you know everything that they're experiencing. And so I wanted to check out the book to see if that was formatted differently. And it's not really like it's not in italics or anything. The chapter just starts by like listing the person's name, but it's a very clear change and deviation from Rachel's story. And I thought that was a really creative way to do it because you are now in the head of the person being scared.
You're sensing it. It's very much we're watching a horror movie, right?
Yeah,
the author wanted each fear test to feel like a horror film. And I dig it. And I dig it. She wanted you to be scared.
Right.
And you were scared for those characters.
Right. And because Rachel was a
them.
part of the fear test, you couldn't get that same perspective if you were still first person from Rachel's point of view.
Yep.
So
we would just be really seeing what Rachel's seeing. You're not going to... And it's a smart choice for the author because having to figure out how to explain what goes down on these fear tests from Rachel's point of view would have been a pain in the ass.
Right.
And you can't put Rachel as the primary scare. You can't put her in the middle of all this when she's new. So you have to figure out a way.
It especially would have been totally difficult the chapter in which her friend dies, because that fear test was different from her perspective than it was going to be for
everybody else, for sure.
Yeah. And I have to say that, like, I think a couple weeks ago, one of the things we talked about with Midnight Bargain was that we wish that they would have done some flashbacks, some more like point of views from other characters, and how that book was in third person. So it could have been very easy to do that. Here's an example of a first person narration in which you were able to switch to third person and it didn't bother anybody.
No, and honestly, the story needed it.
Yeah.
The story needed it. This is a very good case of where the story absolutely had to have a change in point of view, or you're not telling the story right.
Right. And it was a smart choice. And
very smart choice.
And that's one of the things that I say a lot on here in general.
Smart.
I prefer to read smart writing.
I do.
Except I also like to read smut, so I don't know.
I mean, smut can be smart. Smart can be smut.
Not if you're Tessa
Smut can be smart. Not with Tessa Bailey. Since we're talking about Rachel, is she a heroine? Or because of her story, she's a victim of circumstance?
By the way, I love that this question has come back in season 3 because
I love it too because of the characters
completely abandoned it in season 2. But
these new characters have demanded this conversation.
Yeah. I don't think she is. So I think that she's trying to survive.
She's a survivor for sure.
The book starts with an attack. Two people break into her home. And one runs away, but the other one chases her, and he has a knife and he pins her down, and she ends up struggling, and then he dies by falling on the knife. So essentially she killed him, right? I mean, it was self-defense, whatever. They broke into her home. But she's just trying to survive that, and that's really how she gets involved with Mary Shelley Club. And I don't think that anything she does in there is very heroic. I think it's just her trying to, like, overcome
whatever the fuck's going on. Yeah.
Right. It's survival. Yeah.
I don't think at the beginning she was a heroine, but I think by the end she turned into one.
That's interesting.
Because she had to... When things happened the way they happened, I think she had to become one to survive and stay alive. We'll talk about it at the end. We'll talk about the ending.
But I think it's a fair point that you're making, even though I don't agree.
That's okay. We'll defend our points when we get talking about the ending.
This is like what you said a few weeks ago. I don't know that I can defend my point.
I just know how I feel.
It's just how I feel.
It's a sense in this part of me. Rachel has had so much trauma. Do you think it's a good choice for her mother to just send her to a school full of rich kids?
So I don't know that was really like the decision, like, hey, we're going to go to the school for rich kids. I think that she wanted her
not a great parenting choice.
No, but I think she wanted her to have a change of scenery and not live in the house in which she killed somebody. And her mom was working at the school. So it's not like her mom enrolled her there so that she would be like ostracized. Her mom was working there.
She just got her a different school and moved locations to try to find her something different.
I don't think there was anything wrong with that, because I feel like if your kid experiences that kind of trauma, that you would want to, like, do whatever you can to help them cope with that trauma.
What I don't get is, like, she's still in the state of New York. She's still within driving distance of that house. And if you're really, like...
house in New Jersey? The house where she was attacked?
Long Island. So they're, like, on the rest of the, like, of the, the island of Manhattan. And, like, my thought bubble here is, like, if you're going to move her just a little bit down the road. Why not move her? Let's move her further away. Let's get her off this island. Let's get her away from this. If you're really like, you know what, we need a change, I'm going to move her to a big city where she's never going to have panic attacks.
Well, and I'm not totally sure that it was, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not totally sure that it was completely like, hey, I'm going to do this for her. I think if I left my kid alone and they got attacked in my house and then had to kill their attacker, I'm not so sure I would want to stay there either.
And then okay, so like this bugs me. Her parenting choices bother me. Then we set Rachel loose in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. After she's been attacked, one of the people have gone missing and just left. And she's just gonna let her go, run free in one of the biggest cities in the world, and just hope nothing happens to her. Let's just act like she wasn't nearly murdered last year.
Well, I don't know
that question her parenting choices.
I don't know that that's really what was happening though, Molly, because she was home every day until she started becoming part of the Mary Shelley Club.
That's true.
She was like, her mom was trying to get her out the door, like go do things, go try to be normal.
I don't know. I guess I don't know what I would do as a parent without being in this situation.
But I feel like
hope to God I never find out.
But I feel like you absolutely need the setting of the rich kid school that's mostly white.
Oh, this is only a rich kid thing.
Right, but you need this school. You need this school that's rich kids who are mostly white, and she's not rich and not white. Like, you need her to be an outcast. Because, like...
this doesn't work.
Right. And also these sort of secret societies, like the Mary Shelley Club, they are notorious at boarding schools and very fancy pants private schools. Right. So you wouldn't have this at, like, your local, like, local neighborhood school. Like, that's not... No. It's the Rory Gilmore thing, right?
It's the fucking Rory Gilmore thing. It's the...
Yeah, wasn't there a
scholarship kid?
Wasn't there a secret society at her school, and the redheaded chick in Paris wanted in, but Rory got in? What the fuck?
Oh yeah, and they had to sneak into the dean's office. And, yeah, that's pulling into my knowledge a little bit. I can't remember what it was called though.
I can't either.
But like, I guess RBG was in this group, and like they named all these famous people that are in this group. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are going into Gilmore Girls lore, not the book we're supposed to be in. Okay, let's try this again.
Hey, it was relative. At least I stayed on track.
It was linear, unlike my thought bubbles that are just
effervescent thought bubbles by Molly.
Thank you.
They bounce all over the place.
They're bubbly. It's like champagne. They're in there for a little bit,
right? That isn't the best thing to have when you're trying to be linear. Molly's thought bubbles. Effervesce.
Like champagne. Effervesce. Before we talk about the fear tests, because we got to talk about these fear tests.
I mean, that's like
I want to talk about the club.
Okay.
First, let's talk about the current members. We have Bram Wilding, Thayer Turner, Felicity Chu, Freddie Martinez, and Rachel Chavez. The author put her fantasy casting on her Tumblr, her website.
I didn't know any of those people.
I know some of them. And it's like a flashcard, and it like has like their favorite movies, and like it's a very interesting choice to like do that, especially when this hasn't been picked up yet. What did you think of this group? What did you think of the members? Did you have a favorite member? Did you like anybody the most?
I really liked Thayer.
I liked Thayer.
I thought he was totally fucked up. He reminded me, but like had a good heart. He reminded me of, I cannot think of his name, maybe Connor. He was the guy from How to Get Away with Murder, the gay guy, right?
Oh, okay.
Who the very first episode, he was saying, "Smile or we're all going to jail." And like that like sort of thing that was there.
Yeah.
That's what I kept picturing. I want to say that I liked Freddie, but I knew from Jump that Freddie was bad news.
Freddie was skeevy.
I knew from Jump he was going to somehow be involved in Rachel's demise.
Freddie reminds me of, and I'm going to pull this up. Well, keep talking while I figure it out.
Well, I thought Bram was an interesting choice. I know they're trying to like set this dichotomy of like he's like really fancy pants rich and like super super popular, and like why would he hang out with the rest of the club? But the interesting thing is I kind of wondered if he and Rachel were going to have a thing or something, because
right.
I think he was playing a role within his school. He was the most popular kid, so he was going to date the most popular girl. He was the richest, so he was going to throw the best parties. And I don't think that's who he was. Like, I think who he was inside the Mary Shelley Club. So it made more sense to me that, like, it makes sense to me that he was not happy about what Freddie was actually doing with Rachel,
right,
because it infiltrated the like sanctity of something that his place where he feels safe.
It sullied the club, right?
Right.
It sullied club. It made it dirty, and it got blood on it. And it used to be something pure and fun and simple. And Freddie was ruining it. You know what Freddie reminds me of is, did you see Scream?
I think I saw the first one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
I don't really like horror movies, so it's not.
Okay, so in Scream with Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich, the very first one, Skeet Ulrich plays a nice guy that turns into this scary, disgusting, and that's what Freddie is. And it's very much a young Skeet Ulrich in that, and I could see how Freddie would like be obsessed with getting revenge, because I think that's one of Freddie's favorite movies. But each of these characters have different reasons for feeling like they need to be a part of this club. And it's really interesting how they all take on different parts of the club and why they need it. Freddie feels like he's his best self. And I think Freddie is using it to become the monster he is, right? So,
I did not like Felicity. Ever.
I didn't like Felicity either. She was entitled. She was so entitled.
I don't understand how she ended up being a part of the murdering in the end. Like, how do you get to that place?
She probably likes it. She's probably obsessed with knives and all that.
Like, she's crazy.
So part of the club is they have a couple things that they do. They do the fear tests, they have movie nights, and then initiation. So I want to talk about the rules, and then, excuse me. Sorry. So for Rachel's initiation, they'd taken her to the secret location, right? And they had her in the dark, and they were trying to scare her, and then they made her tell what happened to her.
Yeah, she was supposed to share like what she is the most afraid of.
Yeah.
Have you ever did you watch the show Greek when it was on, or have you ever seen the show Greek?
It was a long time ago. If I did, I probably only watched a couple episodes.
This will be from my friend Megan, Florida Megan, because we used to watch Greek together in our apartment when we lived together. So I know she will know what I'm talking about. But Cappy and Evan, who are like the two of the main guy characters, they are obsessed with this like secret society in their college, and they finally get like put in like initiated into it, and their ritual is that they go to a secret location and they have to share like their biggest secrets and what they're most afraid of. So I couldn't not picture Cappy and Evan like, and when Casey, who's the main girl character, she discovers it too, and so she has to be initiated as well. And like the stuff she's sharing is like so trivial, and like everybody is annoyed, and like it just that was what that moment for me. Like it really took me out of this book and back to Greek. Sorry.
That's okay. That's funny actually. I feel like they already knew this information because of theirs.
That's what they say, but that's not why they knew it.
Right. Which I want to get into that. So let's talk about the rules.
Okay,
so I'm going to go over the rules of the Mary Shelley Club, and we can talk about them.
Okay.
Mary Shelley Club is a secret. Duh.
Yeah. First rule of
And
Mary
they've
Shelley
heard all
Club
of,
is we don't
as
talk about
Thayer
Mary
says,
Shelley Club.
they've heard all the Fight Club jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets one fear test that's all members must help execute. You must perform the task that the leader of that fear test assigns you. You must pick your target before the test starts. That's your 8-ball. You must scare everyone else in the room, but if you don't sink your 8-ball, you failed the test. The game isn't over till everyone has their turn. Judging is left up to the other player's discretion. A member of the club may never be a target. If you break any of these rules, your game is over. A fear test ends when your target screams.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. So, these rules, they don't feel like much when we're first reading the book, right? They feel...
A second plot hole just occurred to me. Sorry.
Okay. They feel inconsequential. You're like, okay, they're mocking Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So, what's this plot hole?
Well, it has to do with the ending because they say Rachel was never in the club, but that's not true because she was initiated.
They told her that she was on. There actually is an argument at the end, and I'll explain it.
Oh, is it because she was still on probation or whatever?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Dumb.
Yeah. Okay, so the rules. When they first give them to Rachel, they feel inconsequential, and these rules actually don't come back up until the ending.
Till the end, right?
Till the end. So, she's given all the information, and not a week later, they jump into the first fear test.
Right.
Which, oh shit! Before we talk about the first fear test, I want to talk about how she found out about them.
Okay.
The reason Rachel figured out, or kind of figured out what they were doing, is because her friend, Chandra, dragged her to this party, right? Mm-hmm. And at this party, they were at this abandoned house, and they pranked the whole class, like everybody, right? And then
Bram's
this popular...
girlfriend, like, gets the brunt of
it.
Right,
go ahead. You can go ahead. Take it over.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, she sees Bram and his girlfriend fighting, and basically Bram was trying to tell her to go home because they were going to do the fear test, and he didn't want her to get caught up in it. But what ends up happening is that she gets caught up in it, and Rachel laughs. And so, of course, now she has a complete and utter mortal enemy, right? Which makes it difficult because Bram is in the club.
McCrae.
Right, Lux. But what ends up happening is she's figured out who's in the club, and so basically they don't really have a choice but to let her in because she already knows everything.
Right. What's weird is, like, you never, like, ever think Lux and Bram like each other. No. It's like the two popular kids that got together because they were the two popular kids, right?
It's like a Cinderella story with Hilary Duff. It's whatever the fuck his name is from One Tree Hill. It's him and that girl. The
blonde one, yeah.
Yeah, they have to be together because they're the two most popular people, even though they don't like each other. Like, that makes no sense to me. Just date the people you like. Who cares?
Right. Right. So that test was like a Ouija board, and they had sound, and they fucked with everybody and turned the lights off. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, they told a story Thayer told a story of, like, a murder that happened in that house.
And Rachel was the only one that laughed. Everybody else was fucking scared.
Right.
So Thayer's target is Trevor Driggs. Come to find out, Trevor Driggs is petrified of
clowns.
Clowns, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And so they set up this whole test for Trevor to be petrified by a clown. What did you think of this fear test?
I thought it was hilarious. The guy peed himself, which was amazing.
He peed himself.
But this was the first time that we get the story told from the third person point of view, right? So somebody else's point of view. And I thought it was really funny. I thought it was weird that it worked. Like, bruh, there's just like a clown in your house. I know you're drunk, but come on. This is obviously not real. And also, Bram is like supposed to be dead on the ground, killed by the clown, and like then he's just supposed to be at school. Like, how do you like, it made no sense. It made no sense. I don't get it.
What's funny about Trevor and what's kind of sad about Trevor is, like, We get it. He was a dick. Mm-hmm. We get it. He was a dick. But making the kid piss in pants, you weren't just scaring him. You were embarrassing him. You knew what you were doing.
He was awful to Thayer.
He was awful to Thayer. So, I mean, he did have it coming. Mm-hmm. He did piss his pants. But then they add insult to injury. They start attacking this kid at school afterwards, right? Like, Chew, she starts throwing stuff at him.
No. That was Chew's fear test person. Somebody else throws something at him first, and then she continues doing it.
Yes. Okay. So for the next fear test is Felicity Chew. Mm-hmm. And her target is her ex-boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And he works, his stepdad owns a car dealership, and he likes to take girls there to make out.
And he wears gold chains. And
he wears gold chains. He's like this douchey Jersey Shore guy, right?
And I don't know if I can find the video, but there's this guy who makes reels and TikTok videos about if he does this, he's a hoe. And he has a whole one about gold chains. If he wears chains, he's a hoe.
Oh, that's funny.
I could not think about it. I couldn't not think about it.
Tie pin, bespoke suit, a fat gold Rolex on his wrist, which, according to him, was the only piece of jewelry a man should wear beside brass knuckles.
That's nonsense.
Nonsense. Sim liked skinny chains, thick chains, gold and silver. Whatever. Chains were hot to him. Anyways, so this kid, he likes to take girls he's hooking up with to his stepdad's car lot at night. Mm-hmm. And Felicity goes and gets a meat hook. Mm-hmm. And you can do the math from there. But something happens there. Mm-hmm. Things go sideways. And this is when things start to freak out the club a little bit. What did you think about this? And like the way that things were turning for the club after this?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to jump ahead for a spoiler. I know you want to talk more about this at the end, and that's fine. But I had a feeling from the beginning that Freddie was involved in Rachel's attack. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when the mask that happened to be at Rachel's attack that the attackers were wearing starts showing up in the fear test, I was 100% convinced that Freddie was a part of the attack.
Really?
I knew. Honestly, I thought he was the guy that ran away. That's what I thought.
It was Freddie's brother. I thought Freddie's brother that ran away.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was like a staged robbery, and Freddie was doing this to like torture Rachel for almost getting his friend killed or his cousin killed or whoever the guy was.
That's what I was thinking too. I thought Freddie ran away and his friend got murdered and he wasn't happy about it. Or not murdered. I mean, it's not really murder if it's,
self-defense. It was self-defense. Anyway, right. She killed him.
But I thought it was a break-in had gone wrong and that his friend died. And that's what I thought absolutely happened. Right. And so when that mask starts showing up again, I was absolutely convinced. And I know it's supposed to be like the red herring, right? Oh, Bram got knocked over, so he has this weird bruising now, and this and that and this and that. Like they try to distract from it being Freddie, but I never trusted him. Never.
No. And
and when
making him a love interest made it harder to trust him too.
And when Bram told her you need to drop out of the club at that one dance that they were at, I was like, or the Halloween party, I was like, he's telling her to do that, not because he doesn't want her there. It has nothing to do with Lex and how he doesn't want his girlfriend to be upset and he doesn't want her there. It has to do with the fact that some shady shit's happening and he doesn't want that disruption.
Because he's a good person.
Well, and it's not only that. That club is his home. Right.
Literally, they meet at his house.
They meet at his house.
Literally, they meet at his house.
But it's the place where he feels the most himself. And so for him to have that violated, that's why he wanted Rachel to quit. He did not want her there because that was a violation of the thing that he found sacred. Yeah. And so, so I thought that from the beginning that gave away to me that something was happening and that Rachel was going to be a target. But But they also do a good job making it a decoy, making it seem like it wasn't one of the members of the club that was wearing the mask.
At the beginning, after after Felicity's, I thought it was Lux. Mm-hmm. I thought Lux had figured everything out.
Got attacked.
Until Lux got attacked. And that's where I'm going next. I'm going to blow through these next two because we're getting tight on time. So
it wasn't even that long of a book.
No, it's just the way I broke it down. So Lux was next, and Lux was Rachel's target. And the reason
Rachel picked because she was mad at Bram, and she was trying to cause drama.
And what they did was the Home Alone thing, right? Mm-hmm. But this time, Lux got hurt, right? Mm-hmm. A lot more hurt than somebody else. Hospital, right. And then after that is Bram's tests. Mm-hmm. Andra, who is also Rachel's only friend at the school.
Right.
And it happens during the ski weekend, the unofficial ski weekend that these kids put together. Mm-hmm. And Sandra dies.
Yeah, they drug her.
Which
wasn't part of part of Bram's
Sandra dies, and they create this chaos at the ski house, and she falls through a skylight. And we learn later that Thayer had followed her up onto the ceiling, onto the roof. Mm-hmm. And was
by the way, when she's making out with that guy that she thinks is Freddie's friend, is she actually making out with somebody in the mask? Like, was it Thayer? Because she talks about how it feels rubbery.
Because Thayer's gay.
I know that.
Isn't he?
Yes, he is. But she talks about how his lips feel rubbery. And she's starting to spiral because she's drugged.
Maybe it was the drugs that made her think his lips felt rubbery.
I was like, oh, that's the mask guy. And then we find out later it was Thayer. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to make out with a girl. I mean, just because he's gay.
No. High school. No, but for to help finish the test, he would.
Yeah, he would. Hell yeah.
So I want to talk about Freddie's test, and then I'll get into the last of the questions. Mm-hmm. Or actually, yeah, fuck it. We'll just talk about Freddie's test. So Freddie's test is the end of this book. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, fuckers. I know. Stop telling our listeners they're fuckers. Spoiler alert, there is a big thing held for Sandra at the school after she's dead. And on this, somebody spray paints the names of the club on her memorial. Mm-hmm. And then on the back, they put a sign up that says, finish the test. Or whatever it is. So the club knows they have to finish, right? And so Freddie's pushing them to finish. It's because he wants to kill freaking
I can't believe Rachel. They went along with it because, it's supposed to be that they don't know who has put that up there. They don't know who's kind of sold them out. But they do know. They absolutely know that Freddie's the one that did it. And I'm surprised that they weren't all, I'm out. I'm done. You destroyed the first rule.
I think it's fear and peer pressure that led them to where they were, honestly.
Well, I think Felicity was just batshit crazy, and Thayer was losing his shit because he was there when Sandra fell.
I'm sorry, but Thayer was drunk. I feel like Thayer was just drunk the whole time.
Well, they end up attacking Thayer as well. I mean, he was not holding his shit together very well because he was there when she fell.
He's blaming himself for Sandra's death.
He tried to catch her.
Yeah. He thinks he killed Sandra.
Well, he didn't know she was drugged.
No. And that's awful. Mm-hmm. And so come to find out, Freddie planned this whole elaborate thing to scare Rachel. To scare Rachel. Scare Rachel. At the end, he felt like he wanted to kill her. He tried to kill her,
yeah.
But this was to scare Rachel because she's the reason one of their members were dead. Mm-hmm. And Rachel was a part of a fear test the year before and accidentally killed one of their members.
From another school. Mm-hmm. So the Mary Shelley Club is not just a local thing to their school. And this is where I give this. This is my plot hole, Molly.
Oh boy.
The rules of the club are that you have to choose your victim. That's your 8-ball, right? That's the rule you read. The guy that Rachel was attacked by and then subsequently killed didn't know her. Why was she the target? Why was she the target of that fear test?
I'm wondering if it was the guy that ran off that knew her from school.
Well, we never do find out who that guy is, so it's possible.
I'm wondering. And she did leave
but they
it
didn't go to
open-ended.
the same school either. Rachel went to a public school, and those kids were at a private school. So I don't even know I don't know why Rachel was picked, and that to me is a plot hole that kept me from giving this more of a higher rating. I still rated it pretty high. I know you're going to ask me, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would have given it 4.5 if they explained how Rachel was the target of the first one.
This book is left open-ended, especially when we find out there's more chapters. I feel like she was leaving this open in case she decided to do a sequel of some sort.
Oh, sure. Of course.
But the only two that end up surviving or being left to,
I mean, Thayer survives, but he's very badly injured.
And Bram barely survives, and Rachel barely survives, and everything okay?
I'm not really happy about this situation right now, which has nothing to do with what we're doing, and it's going to take me out of this, but Tom was filming something in here for our bonus episode, which will come up in December or January. I don't really know when it is in the schedule. And I just realized that my mic has been turned up the whole time to the setting that I don't use. And my camera has been in the wrong place the whole time. So I keep moving it, which it's not fixing it. And he moved my lights. Like, why is he in my studio and fucking my shit up?
Stop touching my stuff!
Listen, I know you're going to hear this, Thomas, because you are going to edit this, but stop messing with my shit.
Stop touching her stuff.
When I came up here yesterday to put some books on the shelf, my laptop was open. Like, he left it open.
Rude.
Right. I'm not happy about the situation. I'm sorry to deviate from what we're doing here, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be crackly on this episode, and he's going to have to try to figure out how to fucking fix it because he set my microphone wrong.
Marriage.
Makes me think of what Monica says to Chandler. Marriage, it's not for everyone.
Not for everyone. I only have a few more things I want to talk about, and then we can move
good,
on
because we're almost
to
out
next
of time.
Week. Good. The ending of this book, were you surprised? Like, how this came to be?
I was surprised that Felicity would murder someone. Like, that was shocking to me.
I'm not.
Like, how did we get from this quiet, weird, angsty girl to, like, she's going to murder someone? That was too far-fetched for me.
I mean,
but I was not surprised at all that Freddie was setting Rachel up and that somehow was connected to her attack. Even though it was, like, very distantly, it was enough that, like, So, no, I wasn't surprised.
So let's talk fantasy casting in movies, because the author's already started on her website. Like, she has those flashcards. So was there anyone specific when it came to this casting? I know we talked about it a little at the top, but was there anything like that, any character directly that dropped out at you that you're like, yeah, I want this person in this movie? Or
so, because I knew you wanted me to look at the casting and, like, come up with my list, I have a list for all the characters.
Oh, cool.
So I think Rachel, Rowan Blanchard, Girl Meets World, she was Riley.
She'd be cute.
She would be awesome as Rachel. Felicity, Lana Condor. Lana.
Yes, from P.S. I Love You.
P.S. I Love You. Yeah. I think she could do angsty, even though she's very, like, cutesy upbeat.
She did this
I think she can
fun.
Be angsty.
She did this really fun movie for sci-fi, or series for sci-fi, where she played, like, this bad fighter chick. Like, she can definitely, she's very multifaceted. She's a good actress.
Cool. So for Bram, it was Tanner Buchanan. He was also in Girl Meets World, but what people would know him from is Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay.
So he plays Riley. Does he play Riley on Cobra Kai? That might be his. That might be
Riley's.
His character is Johnny's son in Cobra Kai. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I pictured Thayer as white initially, but the author has a picture of a black male, and so I started looking through more, like, teens of color. I went that way when I was looking for my list, and I think Miles Gutierrez Riley, who is from Love Victor, the Hulu series. I think he'd be awesome.
Right.
He'd be awesome. He might not be as flamboyant as I'm picturing Riley, but I'm sorry, I'm picturing Miles, but Thayer. Gosh, wrong name 3 fucking times. But I think he would do well.
You know who I was thinking? Tyler James William, a young Tyler James William,
like from
Abbott Elementary. Everybody hates Chris in Abbott Elementary.
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, you might be right. That might
a young one of him. Okay.
And then for Freddie. Oh wait, did I give you the wrong one? I may have given you the wrong one. Freddie Michael Cimino, I think is how you say name. He's from Love, Victor. That's who I'm thinking of. Who is Miles Gutierrez Riley? Now I can't remember who that is.
Did you have any favorite horror or scary films?
I do not like scary movies. Oh, sorry. Miles Gutierrez Riley is not from Love, Victor. He is from the upcoming On the Come Up movie, which is based on the book by oh my gosh, I cannot believe I forgot. I can see her in my head. Angie Thomas. I met her too. She's awesome. He would be great. He would be great as him. So horror movies. I don't like horror movies. As a kid, that's my mom's favorite genre. She loves horror movies. So I watched way too many of them when I was way too young. And I really deeply disliked them. But in the 90s, for some reason, I thought it was cool to watch them. So I saw like all the 90s horror. Like,
Same.
I know what you did last summer. And
Final Destination.
Yeah, all those. Final Destination 2 still fucks me up. I will not drive behind a truck that has logs in it. Fuck that shit. That's how you die.
There are so many of us millennials that are like scarred because of that movie.
Right. That's 100% how you die. So yeah, I don't really like scary movies, so I don't have a favorite horror movie. That's not my thing. How about you?
And Final Destination. I like those. Any vampire movies, Lost Boys, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
I like the dark and twisty ones like that.
I mean, I like Interview with a Vampire, but I don't think that really counts as horror.
I prefer my horror to have a touch of fantasy because the more realistic it is, the more scary it is to me.
Yeah.
Like movies like The Fifth Kind, where it's the one about the therapist up in Alaska who talks to all of her patients have been abducted by aliens, and the more she dives into it, the more like weird shit starts happening. And they have actual footage from the actual therapist in Alaska who was dealing with these actual patients, and a lot of fucking weird shit happened up there. This is why I never go to Alaska.
No, thank you.
But next week.
Oh, well, if it's okay with you, I wanted to share more than just what's next week because this is the last week of October. So if you follow us on social media, you already have this list. If you do not follow us on social media, go and follow. Try again. If you do not follow us on social media, follow us on social media. We post some really great stuff on there, or it's maybe just funny to us. I don't really know. Who knows?
I don't know.
But we do give the information about what's coming up in the next month. And we're doing that on our website now too, bookbestiespodcast.com. Visit our website and see what's coming up. But so we've already released this on our social media, but since this is the last episode of the month, I thought I would go through it with you all. So our very first episode of next month is going to be A Court of Thorns and Roses. And so that will be on November 1st by Sarah J. Maas. If you've never heard of these books, I don't know. Are you
live under a rock?
Like, where are you right now? Then the next book.
Welcome back from Antarctica. How are you?
Right. Welcome home from space. So on November 8th, we're going to read The Duke and I, which is the first book in the Bridgerton series, and neither of us own it. So Tom, put it right here.
Seriously, fucking put it right there.
Right there.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
In Bridgerton series, that's the first book, The Duke and I. And then on November 15th, we will be reading this book, Station 11, by Emily St. John Mandel. And this is awesome, guys. I have to tell you this. We have Francesca Zappia coming back again to be on our podcast.
Our bestie, Jessie!
Yeah, so we love Francesca Zappia. If you have not listened to the episode in which she guest starred with us in season 2, we'll link that below. And we covered one of her books in season 1, which is actually how we got connected with her, and it, whatever. But she wanted to come back again, but she wanted to read one of her favorite books, not a book of her own. Which, by the way, I freaking love that. I love that she's an author, and she's like, I just want to read with you guys.
She's like, I want to hang out with you guys. Let's fucking do it, man.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more with her about writing again, and we'll talk about she has a book coming out early next year, so we'll talk about that as well. And then on November 22nd, we will read this book, When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord, which is a YA book.
Season 4.
Molly put 2 books that we're reading this season on the season 4 list, and I'm like, Molly, we're reading them, and what are you doing? So
they're not surprised. Zero surprise here.
This is YA and LGBTQ. Is that right?
I think so.
I think it is.
So.
And then we will end the month on November 29th with this book, Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. And
that cover's beautiful.
This isn't the original cover, but it is a really awesome cover. And if you are an audiobook reader, the narrator for this book is Sarah Drew. She narrates all of Lauren Oliver's books. And that's part of the reason that I picked this book, Molly, was because Sarah is just a phenomenal book narrator. And she narrates all of Lauren Oliver's. And so Sarah Drew is awesome. She's like one of my favorite actresses. Sarah Drew. So yeah.
We love Sarah Drew.
So that's what we've got coming up in November. Go follow us on social media. Go check out our website. So we put sneak peeks and things there for you all the time. So
we're going to go home now because both of us are tired.
Molly, we're filming in our homes.
I don't know that.
Yes, they fucking do.
Did you guys know that?
Of course they did. That's my wall that I record in every week. You're literally in your office, like your bookshelf behind you.
Secret locations.
It's still secret. Nobody knows where we are.
Oh my God, guys, we gotta go. It's been a long week and it's Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye guys. Love you, April.
Love you.
Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April and not those of anyone else. Today's book was The Mary Shelley Club by Goldy Moldavsky. Your book besties are Molly Biggs, April Watkins, editing by Thomas Watkins, and music is Sleep Sweetly by Pritchetta. Don't forget to follow the Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com or our website, bookbestiespodcast.com.